On this episode of ResiWeek, Parasol has launched their 24/7 customer support center. SnapAV unleashes a boatload of new products, including Chime, a competitor to Ring. And the wellness market is going to grow by over 50% in the next year. All that and more next on ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 246, recorded Monday, October 19th, 2020. Economic Ecosystem.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Vanco International. Learn the technology behind the award-winning EVOIP, AV over IP system. Become EVOIP certified today.
And by Just Add Power, the global leader in video over IP solutions with systems that give you easy installation, unmatched scalability, and outstanding performance.
This is ResiWeek, the look at the residential market on a weekly basis, the news and information. My name is Tim Albright, in for Mr. Matt Scott. With me to discuss the news and information, first and foremost, Mr. Jimmy Paschke from Surgex. Welcome, sir.
Hey, man, it's so good to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. And the source of many of these stories that we cover on a weekly basis, Mr. Jeremy Glowacki from Res Tech Today. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thanks for having me, Tim.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we mentioned the several of the stories, so we're going to kick it off with the first one here from Res Tech Today. SnapAV last week has unveiled the Chime video doorbell. Is also adding to a number of product lines of Control4 and product lines. Recap real quickly, about a year ago, August, I want to say, I's dotted, T's crossed, SnapAV and Control4 finished what they called was the combination of the merger, looking at who paid for what. 2 cents here is that SnapAV purchased Control4, but, tomato. Now a full year into this, and SnapAV is and the team there with Charlie Kendall as the head of product development, looking at adding to their product line. Jeremy, I'll start with you on this. It feels that SnapAV is not just evolving their different lines and their different products. It also feels like they're going after certain people in certain segments of the market. Obviously, with Chime, they are squarely saying, okay, you know what? Here is a Ring competitor. So what do these new announcements, not just Chime, but the rest of the ones they laid out last week, say?
Well, I mean, I think it's just about really completing the ecosystem. The Chime, not to fixate on that too much, but I mean, what a great product for the channel to have. To not that there's anything wrong with Ring. Ring is a really great product, but it's the Internet of Things. It's not necessarily compatible perfectly within a control system like Control4. It has there are hoops that you have to jump through to make things work, and there are cloud issues and things like that. This is just really within the ecosystem. It becomes a custom integration product. It's fully supported by a company that supports this channel. And I think, if you're talking our channel, you're looking for products that are have that kind of technical support, that sort of training, and that durability that you're expecting from products that are professionally installed. So, you're looking at episode subwoofers and amplifiers, new touchscreens from Control4, lighting expansions, the whole gamut package, SnapAV.com kind of integration. So I think it's really coming together nicely. And this is one of those companies that if you're in with them, you want them to be fully well-rounded. And I think that's what they're accomplishing here.
Yeah. Jimmy, when you're talking with, dealers, how important is an ecosystem? How important is it for them to have as Jeremy put it, well-rounded, platform?
I guess at the end of the day, when we go shopping, do we want to go to one building to get everything, or do we want to go all around town, 4 or 5 different places on a Saturday, knowing that time is of the essence for us, right? And I mean, it's well played by Snap. I found it interesting they got in the amplifier business. Having worked with Marantz in the past, being tied to Denon, that's not an easy business. And kudos to them to try to reach out and create that better mousetrap, because that's exactly what they're trying to do. Now, if I'm a dealer, the question's got to be asked, do I want to put all my eggs in one ecosystem? Whether it's theirs, whether it's freaking Sound United is, look at what they're doing these days. Crestron, Savant, they're all doing it. Which ecosystem do you want to be tied to?
Well, so that's one thing. And regardless of whether it's, resi or commercial or, tech managers or even programmers, folks will use, the one person to blame, right? That one ecosystem. But Jeremy, the aspect of that is, and I'm going to pick on Jimmy for a little bit here. He asked how many stores you want to go to, right? On a Saturday when time is of the essence. If I'm getting what I want at the various stores and I'm able to do that, and I'm not, and my entire house, my entire business is not built on one pillar, something happens to that company, right? Then I'm kind of in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me that's well said by Jimmy. I agree that that's something to be concerned about and to think about. And it goes back to even when you talk about resi versus commercial in general, and how you hit an economic slide, and it's nice to have some diversity in your company as a whole, to be able to pivot into that commercial space and do that work while maybe homeowners aren't spending. We're in a stretch right now where I think there are quite a bit of commercial, businesses struggling. It depends on what they're into, but you're seeing a lot of investment in the home because everybody's at home, everybody's staring at their four walls. So you're able to pivot if you're doing both of those. So as working with manufacturers, I do think that is a good point to have some other players to work with. Don't do it all within that same company. Now, it's nice to be able to do it while things are going well, but to have that secondary brand that you're working with that is an ecosystem as well. It used to be hard to do that. There used to be companies. There are still companies, but they were not really looking favorably on you if you didn't choose them over another one. Now you can kind of play it both ways. You can have a brand A and a brand B that you work with, and maybe one is a better commercial fit. Maybe they're both really good resi fits, or one's a higher end resi fit and one's more of a upper middle market fit. So I think you do have to be smart about that for sure.
Yeah. Jimmy, as we wrap up this segment here, talk for a second about that. Jeremy mentioned the fact that some are going to hit different price points, right? You're going to have some clients that are certainly luxury, right? And for those folks, you've got a line of products here. And for the mid market and for the lower market, you've got a line, that certainly provides a solution. So, the ability to, if you want to go all in with Snap, or you want to go all in with, let's say, Powerhouse Alliance, who has, they have some of their own branded products as well as obviously their lines as well. You can do that. How important is that to have that kind of that breadth of price difference between, one extreme to the other?
Listen, I think as long as you can stay true to your identity, then all the merrier. I hope that we don't lose sight of one segment versus another as we try to chase after where the dollars are today. And Jeremy, you're right. People are dropping money on resi left and right now. So many of us are appreciating that business. I just wrote a note this morning to my reps. We just eclipsed last year's entire annual number as of Friday.
Wow.
It's amazing to be in that position. I guess what I would say is stay true to the identity and, know who you are as a company, and then don't lose sight of being an expert. One of the things that the channel loves, whether it's Cedia or the folks over on the commercial side, they want to know that somebody's got the answer. And I'm just afraid that as you cast your net wider, you lose sight of that expertise and that brand culture from one to another.
I saw a great quote today on LinkedIn that was someone said, God, it's expensive hiring a professional. And they're like, well, think about how expensive it is to hire an amateur. And I love that, because that's what this industry should be and is most of the time, and should keep that level up.
Absolutely. Or to be frank, how expensive it is to not hire either one and just to try to do it yourself. So
right. I get that's probably the way it was worded. I'm not good with words.
No. I mean, you hiring an amateur too. I mean, hiring somebody, and there's nothing wrong with hiring somebody who's new to the job or is green, but you are going to pay for that, right? You are going to pay for their experience, certainly. All right. Next story comes to us from our buddies over at CE Pro. A wellness study says that 73% of consumers expect to increase their spending on wellness. 59% of consumers will pay a premium, quote unquote, for a wellness-oriented system versus a non-wellness offering. Jimmy, this is something that not just CE Pro. I mean, obviously, Jilly Jacobson has been on the biophilia kick for a couple of years, but others have as well. You've looked at the show floor of CD the last 2 years, obviously not one this year, but the virtual one. They have started, really not just courting, but those brands are starting to come and say, you know what, we can offer something different. We can offer something unique. Jeremy mentioned the fact that residential in the AV space, that seems to be a market that is certainly hot and certainly growing, this year during this time. So what are we looking at when it comes to, making sure that dealers can deliver on a wellness solution that customers seem to be looking for?
Well, listen, I think the world of what Peter Dyroff and Seth Kaplan are trying to put together with the brands that they're representing as it relates to wellness in the residential space. And if you're an AV guy and you're trying to get in on this, and whatever Julie started talking to us about, what was it, probably more than 2 years ago, get with these reps that have been educated, see how you can get your own education and find your end route, because people are definitely going to spend money, right? It's a question of who gets it. Do we get it? Because we had the conversation and we brought it up. If you don't bring it up, you ain't going to get it. And I think this category, I'm a power guy. I had no idea this category would even come close to our channel. But I've had probably 3 occasions this year where extremely large estates were concerned about powering off completely rooms or wings of an estate because of EMI and RFI. And I'm just thinking, okay, that is where we exist in this wellness, because I was struggling. I'm like, we're not a plant-based whatever. I can't do lighting, the filtration, the particulates in the air that I'm so concerned about now after listening to Julie and others during these conferences. Yeah, I mean, people are going to spend money. You know they are. If it's about their health and well-being for their future, they're definitely going to spend money on it.
Jeremy, what are you hearing? Not just, obviously you and I are we get different reports and different releases. But when you're talking with the integrators, you're talking with the dealers that are boots on the ground, what are they telling you about, the demand and the pull for wellness within the home?
Yeah, I mean, I've been like you guys at the HTSA meetings where wellness is a huge focus, and they were early, embracers, for lack of a better word, early adopters of Delos. And working with that platform and that standard to try to find a way to bring all of those pieces together. They're like sort of like that badge of approval for these products. I asked a question for our next issue about human-centric lighting and how they're selling that. And I think that it's like home theater where it's the art of the demo, to be able to show from a lighting standpoint, this, the warmer feeling that you get from our new technology and lighting that, doesn't always work so well. It's great for the environment from a energy saving standpoint, but it's in the early days of LED, not too long ago, it's a colder kind of lighting. And so to be able to warm that up, to tune it to a more natural setting. I don't have a fancy lighting. I have a good lighting control system, but I don't have a way to properly dim the new LED fixtures that we're getting slowly but surely as we update our home. And it drives me crazy to sit down to dinner and I just feel like there's something off, and I can't quite explain it to my family who maybe they're not as sensitive to it as I am, but I want it to be like a candlelight, bright enough to see, but warmer like the candlelight. It's something that I've just always preferred. And I think human beings, I don't know if we're genetically, tuned to that or what from the caveman days. But to be able to do like a Ketra system, if you're wealthy enough to be able to put that in, would be great from Lutron. And so wellness can be a lot of things. This article is really about all kinds of consumer brands, not just tech space. So there's so much that could be done, and so much branding and marketing. And I think one of the interesting parts of the article is that you don't want it to be wellness washing. You don't want to just put wellness on everything and make money off of it without doing anything, just because it's the popular thing, like green, or energy saving, like whatever those terms were that were just sort of a buzz that maybe didn't really amount to anything. When they did, that was great, but sometimes they didn't. But I think this is definitely a good trend. And of course, COVID-19 has it front and center for everybody right now. And I think it's a good time to start finding a way to, whether it's power, like Jimmy's talking about, that's a more challenging category, but there's probably a way that you can apply it to every category right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeremy, you mentioned the fact that, you that warmer feeling, sort of there is a kind of a circadian rhythm. And I've learned that over the last 3 or 4 years, especially honestly through Matt and some other lighting experts. Ketra is a huge kind of example of a lighting system that will help you do that. But there are others as well where you can tie them into a control system, and the control system itself can kind of, talk with, the atomic clock, and figure out where you are in the world and adjust those and change those colors throughout the day. Right. But I think that was going back to Julie, not to make it this entire segment about Julie Jacobson, but that was one of her first kind of aha moments from what a presentation she did a couple of years ago. Is she was sensing and kind of working from home, which she has for a number of years, but she was able to adjust her lighting, and it just helped her get more done throughout the day, and honestly helped her kind of wind down towards the end of the evening, because it adjusted the lighting. And by the afternoon and by the evening, we want a warmer feel, right? It's as we're getting ready to go into sleep, right, and rest mode. So yeah, it's really, really fascinating, and you get somebody that knows what they're doing. One quick thing here is, because there's a couple other parts that I've read about. One is looking at the air filtration systems and the way that those are coming on board, especially for dealers, and integrating them, right? Jimmy mentioned the fact that you've got power, and power is a way. There are ways you can incorporate that into wellness, but also looking at the air and the water quality and the lighting inside a system. Are you guys hearing anything about filtering systems, or the water, especially in the era of COVID?
The air in particular. I was just talking to my reps in Florida, LKA, and they rep through their, I forget the name of that rep firm or agency that they've created nationally, but Seth Kaplan and Peter Dyroff kind of had that. Phenomenon or something along those lines is the brand, and it filters out particulates in the air way better than the $100 to $200 thing you might buy at Home Depot that you put in a room with a HEPA filter on it. And I said, so how are you demoing this? Because I think for me, I would need to be sold on it. I want to know that I've got stuff in the air, which quite frankly, in my house, I can kind of see it when the sunlight hits. Yeah. I don't need a particular demo, but I do want to know that you're able to kind of suck it all up and throw it somewhere. Kind of like the guy that came to my house once years ago selling me a freaking rainbow vacuum cleaner. That guy had demos out of his rear end about, cleaning the air, cleaning my carpets. I thought my carpets were clean until that guy vacuumed it. Those kinds of demos, if you're going to try to get hundreds or thousands of dollars out of me, just give me a quick one. Just let me see something tangible. Yeah. And I think that's important is it's got to be like like you guys are saying, you just can't tell me you're cleaning the air. Snake oil. I want to see something, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because, we all get pitches from, well, us, those of us on the media side, maybe Jimmy, not so much, but I get pitches all the time from new companies now that aren't in that wheelhouse of AV that I'm used to reading about. And, I could easily go through my inbox and go legit. And then I'm like, well, it's a good buzzword. I got to tag that for later. I'm not sure this is legit. And this one that I'm looking at right now, it says new wave OxyPure air purifier found to reduce porcine respiratory coronavirus concentration in the air. So here I'm getting these pitches now from companies. It's a new category, and I'm not going to immediately dive into it until I've had a chance to make sure I don't look stupid. I need to find out more about this. They're talking about some independent studies and things that sound legit, but it's right now it's just words. I probably need to talk to somebody so I can learn more about, is this a real, coronavirus preventer, or is it just a heavy duty air purifier like you'd have in your standard HVAC system? So there's a lot to learn right now for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that there's a, we can all play a drinking game with how many buzzwords certain press releases come across our desk. So,
but Tim, on that note though, and Jeremy, I think it's about how the integrator can get it to work with the entire system of the home, not having it. I just put the MERV 11, I think it's called. I'm not sure, filtration and a new HVAC in the house, but it doesn't integrate into anything. It's just a dummy filtration system. So, can I get that to work with something and maybe even throw it into a dashboard that's tied into energy, network, whatever else I might want to take a look at quickly. I think that's the integrator's job, is to try to figure out how to get it into the automation system and throw it on a dashboard into the living room or whatever room in the house we want.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, that's kind of like what you're saying before, to be able to see some evidence that something's happening. Yeah. Because otherwise you're just sort of on faith, that it's working.
Well, I think that Jimmy just hit on something too, that creating feedback and constant monitoring and giving that information to the client, right? Giving that to the homeowner in some sort of dashboard. I honestly think that the ability to do that over the next year or two is going to be absolutely crucial to ROI, but also to recurring revenue, because giving them that information and showing them what their house is doing, and Jimmy's Surgex systems and other power ones as well, they will constantly give feedback on the health of your electrical system. Well, why can't we do that to the control system? Why can't we do that to the audio system, to the cable system, right? Your internet was down for 2.5 hours today, and this is what your provider is saying, right? Giving them that information and quite frankly, giving them the ability to run their house a little bit more efficiently. Say, you know what, this is what's happening. Let's not do this. Let's do that instead. So I think that's going to be huge going forward. All right, last story here comes to us again from our friends over at ResTech today, and Jeremy.
Yay!
Parasol has launched their AllCall program. If you're not familiar with Parasol, it is a 24/7 remote support, rolling it out over the U.S. 250 dealers in the U.S. Not all at once, but very gradually here. But here is what this gives you. It gives dealers the ability to offload their support. This gives you the ability to forward the calls to Parasol, and them to handle at least first tier support. Jimmy, we'll start with you on this. I mentioned the fact that your company gives feedback, others do as well. Combining that with the ability to have somebody physically on the phone 24/7. What kind of support does that give the homeowner, and what kind of return does that give them?
Well, I can't imagine a homeowner out there, whether they spent 20 grand or $2 million, that doesn't expect that they are going to have our AV guy at their beck and call. Because whether you spent 20 grand or 2 million, either one of those numbers is a significant number to the individual that spent the money, right? But if you're an AV guy right now, what do you not have? You do not have time, because I can't get a meeting with any of them because they have no time, right? And if you have no time, that's what Parasol's bringing. I mean, we're selling water, we're selling air. These guys are selling time, right? I think it's brilliant. It's a foot in the door. They're going to show you how good their service is. And then they're going to hope that they can do even more for you by getting in that infrastructure they like to have all their dealers put in, that Oversee Pro Hub with the diagnostics, so they can figure out even more and help you even more with your business. I think this is so smart. You know, those guys, Henry and Ted and Greg, are extremely smart.
Yeah, that's I agree completely. Not to cut you off, Tim, but that telling of time, my God, that is such a brilliant notion right now, especially. I have a friend that works at Angie's List. He sells space for their service, you know, I guess website. And he said that, you know, he's got some companies he's able to sign up for the service or add premium to their business. But some of them, they said, we are so busy right now with service, and we're lacking people. And it's not even our trade, it's other trades. And, you know, you can chalk it up to a lot of big issues in the world right now that are causing this to happen. But it, you know, whether it's immigration or it's, you know, COVID or whatever, but everybody's lacking time. Everybody's busier than they were before. Those of us who are fortunate to be working. It's something that if you're not answering the phone when someone calls, then you seem like you don't care about them. My internet just went out today, and I honestly didn't know who to call. I have a integrated system. And so of course I was like, why doesn't this thing work? This thing should always work. And then, you know, you start calming down and backing up and figuring, okay, is it the link from the outside, you know? And you find out that it is. You get a neighbor on the phone, and like, yes, my network's down too. It's the internet. It's not the custom integrator. Okay, leave them out of it. Let's not unplug everything and screw it up worse. Just breathe, go out, you know, make a phone call from somewhere else where you can get a connection. So, you know, you want to be able to talk to a human, and the fact that these guys will answer a call for you because you're part of that 100% service now is so great. I mean, I wish I knew where to call today. I didn't have that connection to somebody. And it wasn't because of my custom integrator. It was because I don't know how to get in touch with Metronet, the internet provider. So it's going back to that data again. If you had that place you could go and say, is my HEPA filter working, or is my whatever thing working? Is my network down right now? Okay, I got it. I'll chill for a minute. They'll get it back up. Any information is better than no information, you know?
Yep.
So I think that Parasol is just on to something great here.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Actually, that'll do it for us. Thank you all so much. Jimmy Paskey from Surgex. Thank you, sir.
Oh, hey, much appreciated.
And how do people get a hold of you or Surgex?
You're going to want to go on to espsurgex.com. My contacts up there, our local representatives' contacts are up there, and all of our product information is certainly available.
All right, very good. Mr. Glowacki, good to see you as always, sir. It's a shame that we aren't meeting on better circumstances for those of us who are Bulldogs fans, but that's okay. How do people get a hold of you or ResTech?
Well, they have a week to lick their wounds as we do as dogs, hopefully not in the wrong places. And sorry, that just kept going.
Matt will never let me host again, just for the record.
But yeah, so we have the week off for the Bulldogs to recuperate and get back at it in a couple of weeks. And if anybody wants to find me, go to restech.com and check out our podcast too, where I've been talking to a lot of fun people, and I kind of do a little bit of that backstory, talk about their history, you know, their growing up. You know, I'm just getting done with one with Michael Heiss, our new Lifetime Achievement Award winner from CEDIA. And we've all heard from Michael a lot, but I don't think a lot of us know, you know, what he was like as a kid and, you know, what he did in high school. I think you can kind of assume some of the nerdy stuff that he did, but it's cool. And there might even be some stuff involving the early days of VHS and things out in San Fernando Valley, and you can make some connections and leaps to what might have been duplicated and created on those videos back then. Surprise, surprise, Mr. Heiss.
Did you find out where he got that jacket from?
I've heard enough about the jacket. I didn't even go there.
So
I've seen it so much.
Those of you who aren't aware, Mr. Heiss is the owner of a Simpty color bar jacket. That's all I'll say about that. All right. Yes, you should check out Jeremy's show. It's very good. He does an incredible job. So for us, don't follow me on the Twitters. I am either complaining about the Bulldogs, not complaining about the Bears, just for the record, at all. 5-1. Thank you very much. But go by the website if you would please. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others, including the one that I really do host on a weekly basis, called AV-Week. It looks at the commercial side of the industry. So you can check all that out at AV-Week, AVNation.tv. Also check out our underwriter section. These are those who help us financially, help us bring you ResiWeek and AV-Week and all the others. So check all that out and more at AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for ResiWeek.